We are back on the program, everyone. It is John Pollock with you, getting set for two big Bellator events that are coming up this Friday and Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Spike TV. On night one, Eduardo Dantas defending the bantamweight title against Joe Warren, and the rematch on Saturday between Darian Caldwell and Joe Taimenglo. And joining us on the show, Bellator president Scott Coker. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be on.
Now, this is an interesting undertaking for Bellator, doing back-to-back nights in Thackerville, Oklahoma. Was this a unique set of circumstances that presented itself, or are you treating this as a bit of an experiment to see what the appetite is for two consecutive nights?
You know, I don't think that having back-to-back fights, has like we're the first one to do it. I think that other people have done it. I just think that we were talking about finishing out the year. Spike TV wanted to add one more show, and we thought, okay, well, why don't we just do it back to back in Oklahoma? Everybody's going to be there. It's an hour outside of Dallas, and I think we can put together some compelling fights, attractive for the Spike TV fans as well as the local fans to drive to the casino and West Circus there and check it out.
You guys are coming off a very successful show in Israel. I know you're going to be going to Dublin coming up as well. Is this going to be more international shows coming in 2017? Because it seems that this is a great plan to go to places like Israel, get a lot of local fighters, an intriguing main event. How would you classify Israel and other international markets that you've expanded into this year?
Extremely successful. We're very happy with the outcome. It's been a great exercise for us to go look at some of the local talent to see if there's anybody that we want to pick up. But also, keep in mind, Bellator is owned by Viacom, and Viacom has networks all over the world. We usually do it in conjunction with the network promoting Bellator in that region, or that's broadcasting Bellator in the region. We come in and we pump up our fights, and they pump it up for us, and it's worked out extremely well. In fact, this morning, tomorrow, they're launching Spike Hungary. Viacom's launching Spike Hungary, which the fans of Bellator will now be able to watch Bellator twice a week on Thursdays and on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. So we're working out the details right now to schedule another fight in Budapest to support Viacom's efforts and blow Bellator up in that region. So it's really been working out well, and I'm extremely happy. And I think it's been one of the feathers in the cap of Bellator this year.
It was interesting as well, Scott, with the Israel card, because so many people were discussing, having a taped show and that everyone is on the internet, they know results, and yet when the number came in, this was consistent with how a Bellator live show does. Do you think it is kind of overblown, the live versus taped aspect, because this drew a healthy Bellator audience for a show that the results were out there if you wanted to seek them out ahead of time?
Yeah, you know what? And, I'll let the researchers comment on that because, everybody has their opinion. But it worked out well. I think that fans appreciated the event there in Tel Aviv. I know our broadcast partner really felt good about the way it worked out. Fights were great. The main event was unbelievable. Douglas Lima pulled through against Kreshkov, after arguably losing the first couple rounds or losing the fight up to that point in the second round. I believe it was ended. So working on so many different levels. And then the fans here in America got to watch it, 30 days later. In Canada, got to watch it 30 days later. 24 hours later. Right. And it didn't, like you said, it didn't seem to hurt the rating. But, no. Some fans do want to watch it live. I mean, you have fans that are, the hardcore fans that want to see it live that will be out there chatting about it. But all in all, I think the Israel show was a success, and we're definitely going back in 2017. I believe the dates like November 16th or 17th in next year.
Also, just recapping a very busy month for you guys, going to San Jose, a place that is near and dear to your heart. Can you categorize that evening? Because there was a lot going on that night, not just with two UFC cards that day, but a lot of college football games, and yet Andre Ward fighting Sergey Kovalev, and yet Sunday, a lot of people, the big fight they were talking about with Michael Chandler and Benson Henderson. Can you kind of put into perspective of this San Jose show and having a marquee lightweight title fight when your audience had a lot of options that night?
Yeah, you know what? It just speaks to, Bellator continue to build as a healthy MMA brand, and people have choices, like I said. And if you look at the peak numbers for that fight, when Benson Henderson fought Michael Chandler, I believe it was, during that fight we were above 800,000. So we had 800 to 850,000 people watching that fight. And they could have been watching other college football, other boxing fights. So I think it was a real victory, and I think that fight really delivered. And to be, in San Jose where it all started, it was a special moment. And I'll tell you, the fans here in the Bay Area, they know their MMA, and they know a good fight, and they know a bad fight. They'll let you know. They're not shy at all. So the fights really delivered, and the main event was spectacular. And, it goes back to, one of our goals was we're going to bring the biggest and the best free agents that we can to Bellator, and that's why we went out and signed Benson Henderson. And, so eventually he could fight that big fight against Michael Chandler, whoever was the champion at the time. And so, it's nice to see the formula working.
When you mention free agents, two key ones at the moment are Ryan Bader and Lorenz Larkin. Can you say anything about situations? Has there been any talks with either parties for Bader and Larkin?
Yeah, I would say that, I think that Ryan Bader is in an exclusive negotiation period.
Okay.
So we can't speak to him yet. But depending on what he does, if he resigns or if he wants to wait it out, we'll be there to talk to him. And Lorenz Larkin, we just started that dialogue not too long ago. But I believe at some point we will make an offer for Lorenz Larkin because, personally, he's a guy that came from Strikeforce. I always liked his style, and I think he puts on exciting fights.
When you signed Chael Sonnen, you've indicated many times publicly this was a pretty quick deal you were able to put together with Chael Sonnen. Is that typical, or is that a rarity in how fast a deal can come together when there's two parties that want to get together?
I'll tell you, so don't take this the wrong way, because everybody should have representation. But when the fighter wants to, come this way, and we want the fighter to come this way, and as long as the lawyer won't hang it up, it's usually done pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes, when you get, you get a couple of lawyers in the room, and then things get complicated quickly.
I can imagine.
So, yeah, so that's really what it comes down to. Is like Chael wanted to come over this way. We wanted to come this way. And I think we all came, we were all fair in how we wanted to structure the deal. And we put that thing together in 2 or 3 days. It was really quite amazing, to be honest.
That kind of leads into my next question. Obviously, this week, it's been a big topic overall in mixed martial arts, that being some form of a union in mixed martial arts. I myself, Scott, I'm very skeptical that this can get done and that these many fighters can all get on the same page. Not even looking at whether it's going to happen, not going to happen. Is it, in your idea, viable that all of these fighters in a very individualized sport can come together like this, or is it just there's too many stumbling blocks from your history in this business?
Yeah, I think it's a tough road ahead, just to be honest. And this is an individual sport. It's not a team sport. And, I can't see, hey, Tito, or hey, Connor, or hey, whoever, like a big star. You can't fight this weekend, and you got to forego your payday because you got to watch out for the next guy coming up. I just don't think that the fighters are all going to think the same in that sense, and I think that they have a long road ahead of them. But we'll see. Time will tell. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's obviously a very big topic at this moment. I also want to ask, being that we are up here in Canada, of course, Rory McDonald was signed, expected to fight in 2017. What are the plans in Canada? Because I think there's a lot of potential in this market. Spike is not in the most advantageous tier up here to watch, but what are some plans for Canada? Because I imagine Rory McDonald is at the top of those plans to expand more north and have more of a consistent presence here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we signed Rory, who, by the way, is a class act, and pleasure to work with, really enjoyed the time just spending, hanging out with the guy. And really, really nice kid. I'm excited to see him fight. And we got a bunch of killer welterweights that he could fight. So we have a lot of great fights for him ahead. And, whether it's the first fight, depending on the timing, or the second fight. But, before the end of Rory's second fight, it'll either be his first or his second fight that we do come to Canada and promote an event there. In what city? Not sure. I mean, we talked about Montreal. We talked about Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Quebec City. So we'll see. But we definitely will be up there because, like you said, I think the Canadian fans are looking for, their next hometown guy, and I think we have them.
You also did something interesting on the San Jose card. That was the three-man booth with Chael Sonnen included. Is that something that we can expect more of in the future? Because three-man booths are often very difficult, and I thought that the three of them did a great job, and everyone served their role. And it seems like Chael Sonnen is your ultimate utility guy that you can utilize in a role like this beyond just as a fighter.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, Chael is an amazing entertainer on so many different levels. And when he picks up the mic, boy, he can he can spit it out like nobody else's business. So I think that what we can do is have him do all of our big tentpole events unless he's fighting, and then Chael can pick and choose which fights he wants to join and jump in on, because if he wants to do it and he wants to be part of the team. Even on the monthly shows, he'll always be welcome.
As well, looking ahead to 2017, do you have a set number of shows you're expecting to have in 2017? Has that schedule been locked down?
Yes, actually, I think in the next couple of weeks we'll have a schedule for at least the first half of the year. But last year, I believe we promoted 22 fights, and plus the kickboxing shows. Mm-hmm. And this year, I think we're scheduled to do 25 fights. When I finish up starting 2017, we're scheduled to do 25 fights, including, and then also an additional 4 kickboxing fights. So we have a very busy schedule, and we're going to be doing fights. This year, I think we did 5 fights internationally. Next year, we're looking at 8 fights internationally. We're going to add a couple cities, and it's going to be a lot of work. But I really feel like this brand is growing. The timing is right. The free agents are coming over, and we're building a strong base, strong foundation to take this company to the next level.
When you look back at year's end, Scott, and you look at where Bellator was on January 1st versus December the 31st, what do you think have been the biggest areas of growth for the promotion? Because we have seen many transformations within the promotion this year, but are there any key changes that you can immediately identify that you've seen over the last year?
Yeah, I tell you, I think a year ago we were probably in half of the international territories that we're in right now. Right now we're 140 territories around the world. So I think we're probably in half of that. I think that the free agents that we signed in 2016, you're looking at Benson Henderson, Rory, Chael, Matt Mitrione, Fedor Emelianenko. I mean, we signed some killer guys to help boost up the roster. And then the international expansion was one of the main goals of 2016, which I think we accomplished, and did the 5 international fights, which finishes up not this weekend. This weekend is the shows out of Factorville, but we have the fight in Florence next weekend on the 10th, and then on the 16th we have the fight out of Dublin, Ireland, and so that's kind of how we're going to round up the international fights for 16. But that was a major priority for this year, and I think we accomplished so. I give our company a pretty good report card.
As you look back, I think that most people, they go back to Kimbo Slice and Dada 5000, and I would be a hypocrite to just be critical, because going up until that fight, I was very much, I thought this was a unique fight. It was a very well-promoted fight. How do you look back at that fight in hindsight and things you learned from what actually occurred that night, and different forms of promotion, and what we can promote and what detracts, I guess, is the best way to put it, Scott?
Yeah, it's no secret that we always say we're going to do fights that are fun fights. legend fights, and that kind of fell into that category. Being one of the fun fights we wanted to see, and Dada had those fights under his belt, and he had, we were looking at as a promoter from, Kimbo coming from the Miami area, and Dada coming from the Miami area, both having extensive street fighting experience, kind of crossing over to mixed martial arts. We thought it'd be a very evenly matched fight, and it was something that we felt really good about it, and we promoted it. I think we did a great job promoting it, and there's no doubt that Kimbo is kind of, think about it. He's the highest rated show in the history of MMA in North America.
Mm-hmm.
That's a statement on its own. I mean, the guy had 7-point-something million on CBS when he fought back years ago. So, we thought that we didn't have a lot of heat, but, listen, never did we think that what was going to happen happened. And he'd be in a very scary moment there for a second. And if you would tell me that was what was going to happen, it was, we wouldn't have went down that road. So it was definitely a learning experience. And, if you and Kimbo, bless his soul, I mean, this guy was a friend of mine, and somebody that was really close to the family. I mean, I consider him family. I mean, I'm so proud to be promoting his son. I'm so proud that his son wanted to be part of our team, and his entourage. Actually, Mike came out to the last show, and we all had a great chat, nice sit down, and it's just unfortunate what happened to Kimbo. I mean, that was months later, but it's just unbelievable that he has passed. Since the time that we promoted him, but I think that this is something that he loved. And actually, Mike told me, he goes, Scott, he loved being back, in the cage and back in the limelight and making it all happen. And he's so happy and so proud to fight for Bellator. So, I have to, bow down and pay my respects to him.
And his son, will his next fight be with Bellator?
Yes, absolutely. He's in our development program, and I'm not sure if you saw the fight, but Ted, that a lot riding on his shoulders, with a pretty big name, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, he has a lot of pressure on him. But what I saw in watching that fight was a kid that has been training in MMA. I don't think I've ever seen the dad take anybody down. And, Kimbo Slice Jr. had a couple takedowns, and he had a couple reversals and some good punches, and he got caught at the end. But I saw some good progress there, and I'm excited about, what he can create for his son for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just, it's an enormous amount of pressure on this individual. He's on a big stage, and I think he has a lot more expectations upon him than your average person making their pro MMA debut.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we tapped him on the undercard,
right,
on the streaming part of the show, because he was like, why don't you put him on the big fight, on the big card? I go, hey, listen, this kid only had one fight.
Mm-hmm.
Let him breathe a little bit. Let him grow a little. Let him blossom a little bit. Then we'll give him the opportunity to step up. But I didn't want to put any more pressure on him than he already had on himself.
Just two final things here, Scott, and we very much appreciate the time with you. With the recent announcement of Fedor signing, he'll be fighting Matt Mitrione next year. Was this process, working with Fedor, signing him, was it a much different process than the Strikeforce deal? How would you categorize the change in Fedor over the years? Or was it a very simple... it's never a simple business relationship, I would imagine, with never. Fedor and his people.
Never.
But give us a little insight.
There's no word as simple. Like, there's no such thing as simple. When you're dealing with Fedor, and you're dealing with the translation, contract translation. Each time we make a change, the whole contract has to be translated, and then trying to have somebody explain it on his side, and so trying to explain to our icon lawyers. I mean, it was probably a 3 or 4 month ordeal, and I can't say that the last one was easier, because the last one, back in Strikeforce days when he fought first in 08, 09, I think it was just tough. So, but in saying that, I think that, we got a legend that arguably is the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time. And, I know he's had some bumps and bruises lately, but listen, I think him and Matt Mitrione is an evenly matched fight. they're going to go out there and throw some hammers down and see what happens. But I think Fedor still has it.
And the final thing, will Scott Coker be going to Japan for the New Year's Eve cards this year for Ryzen like you did last year?
I will not be there this year, and I'm going to miss it because, ever since I was working for K1, I would always go back to Japan and be there with my family on New Year's Eve, just to visit friends or see fights. And one year I went to a boxing show. One year I went to a dream show. The next year they didn't even have any fights.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Simon Inoki's fight, the IGF fight. So, I love Tokyo. I love Japan. Love the whole culture. And but this year I'm going to be happy to just stay at home with my family and sleep in and get some rest.
Well, I know that you've logged on a lot of air miles this year, so I'm glad you get to be at home with your family for New Year's. I know it's going to be a very busy 2017 and a busy weekend ahead. Once again, Bellator, Friday and Saturday night, 9 Eastern on Spike TV. Eduardo Dantas and Joe Warren, a great fight for the bantamweight title, and the rematch between Darian Caldwell and Joe Menglo headlines Saturday night from Thackerville, Oklahoma. Scott, it's always great to catch up with you. I want to thank you very much, very generous with your time today, and all the best going into this weekend, Dublin, and into 2017.
Yeah, thank you. I look forward to talking to you soon.